Live from ABC 7, this is Eyewitness News at 7 p.m. on LA 56.
President Barack Obama is in Los Angeles. The road closures in effect during his visit.
2 police officers in Ferguson, Missouri shot during a protest. Tonight, the search continues for the gunman.
Bees attacked, stinging one person and trapping another inside a home. Good evening, I'm Rudabeh Shabazi in for Colleen Sullivan.
I'm David Ono. Welcome to Eyewitness News in LA 56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. We begin with that breaking news in Ventura. A brush fire is burning in the riverbed behind the Brooks Institute Ventura campus on the 5300 block of North Ventura Avenue. Ventura Avenue is closed between Cañada Larga and Crooked Palm Road. An Eyewitness News viewer, Patrick Duffy, sent us this video of the fire. 15 acres have burned. 120 firefighters are on the scene. Officials have evacuated 150 people from the Brooks Institute. Authorities are investigating the fire as arson and are interviewing witnesses. Other news now. President Obama is in town for a whirlwind trip that includes a Democratic fundraiser in Santa Monica, and he'll be here for less than 24 hours. There are still some traffic closures in place. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson is live in Hollywood, where the president has just taped his appearance on ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live. Alex.
Hey, David, we're at Hollywood and Highland. Just in the last few minutes, they've reopened these roads here. Things are beginning to get back to what I guess they call normal on Hollywood Boulevard, but it has been an unusual and exciting evening. President Obama waves to supporters as his motorcade heads towards the 101 freeway.
He waved right there. We saw him. We got to say hi to him. My kids were really excited about it. It was great.
Earlier, when he arrived in Hollywood, a large crowd gathered to see him. And what was it like when he drove by?
Excited. Very excited.
Awesome. It was really cool to see it actually in person. Well, it was nothing I've ever seen or experienced.
From Hollywood, it's Jimmy Kimmel Live.
This is the president's first ever appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live while Commander-in-Chief. Outside Kimmel's theater, there's tremendous excitement. When audience members first got their tickets to go inside, they had no idea they'd be seeing the president.
I was kind of excited just to see Sean Penn and for the president to show up too. It's just amazing.
I'm nervous.
You're nervous?
Yeah, I have no idea why.
When else am I going to be in the same room as the president of the United States?
Oh, that's very good. 2009, the president made history when he became the first active commander-in-chief to appear on a late-night talk show. He's since become a frequent late-night guest.
Which brings us to tonight's decree.
Political analysts say this is part of a broader strategy of going to unconventional outlets to appeal to younger voters.
Thanks, Obama.
In addition to late-night laughs, the president is also in Southern California to meet with political leaders like Mayor Eric Garcetti and once again raise money, and lots of it. He's attending an event inside the Santa Monica home of ICM Partners co-founder Chris Silverman. Tickets to get inside, more than $30,000 per couple. Just like every past presidential visit, expect traffic tie-ups right in the middle of rush hour on the west side. And later tonight, when the president likely spends the night in Beverly Hills. So he spends the night in Beverly Hills. In the morning, he takes a helicopter back to LAX and then leaves town for Phoenix, where he's going to speak at the VA hospital there. As for Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight, we're going to have a preview of his appearance tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on Channel 7. And then, of course, the full interview on, thank you for that, on Jimmy Kimmel Live at 11:35 on ABC 7. Reporting live with the great people of Hollywood and some not so great, Alex Michelson, ABC 7, Eyewitness News.
Okay, Alex, thank you. Police in Ferguson, Missouri are searching for the shooter or shooters who injured 2 police officers during a demonstration last night. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez has the latest from Ferguson.
Just blocks from the Ferguson Police Department where 2 officers were shot last night. Today, police surrounded this home.
They brought out 2 men, 1 woman, and a child.
Questioning several people as they try to track down the gunman. Those shots fired around midnight last night.
Shots fired, officer down.
At the end of a protest sparked after Ferguson's embattled police chief Tom Jackson announced he was resigning, a response to last week's scathing Justice Department report citing widespread racism within the city and department. Police say the demonstration was just starting to wind down when someone started shooting.
As soon as the shots was fired, we looking directly at the police fall down to the ground.
One officer shot through the shoulder, the other shot in the cheek. The bullet still lodged behind his ear.
We're lucky, by God's grace, we didn't lose 2 officers last night.
Both have already been sent home from the hospital, expected to recover, as some wonder if this city, which has endured so much since Michael Brown's death, will be able to do the same.
This really disgusting and cowardly attack might have been intended to unravel any sense of progress that exists, but I hope that that does not in fact happen.
And starting this evening, Ferguson police will no longer be in charge of security here if there are more demonstrations. That responsibility has now been handed over to county and state officers as this manhunt continues. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Ferguson, Missouri.
A fourth-grade teacher at Rosewood Elementary School in Los Angeles is in custody facing charges of child abuse. Authorities say they removed 37-year-old Thelmo Garcia from his position at the school earlier this month. School district officials say the abuse allegations are not sexual in nature. They have not yet confirmed whether the alleged victim was a student. Several parents say Garcia is a good teacher and that they cannot imagine the allegations being true.
The community remains on edge as police continue their search for a missing student in San Bernardino. For a third day in a row, police looked for clues in the mysterious disappearance of 22-year-old Sheree Barber. Today, they concentrated on a foothill area known as Little Mountain. The Art Institute of California student hasn't been seen since early Monday morning, and police don't know if she left town.
Obviously, we're looking for any trace of Sheree is what we're looking for. And that could be clothing, that could be potentially be a body, could be potentially be her in need of medical aid.
So far, police have recovered a laptop and cell phone from the bushes near Barber's apartment complex.
A 17-year-old boy is dead, and authorities say after driving a stolen van that slammed into an L.A. fire truck during a high-speed chase. It happened last night at 84th and Main in South Los Angeles. Officers gave chase after seeing the black van speeding away from a call of shots fired where one person had been wounded. One suspect died in the crash. The other suspect was taken to a hospital in critical condition. The fire truck was headed to a medical call when it was hit. 2 firefighters had minor injuries.
A bizarre theft is caught on surveillance video in Bloomington near Fontana. The suspects didn't get very far, though. Watch as they back up a white minivan, hook up a payphone, and drive off, yanking the entire thing right off the wall of a restaurant. You can even see them dragging the payphone behind them through the parking lot. What they didn't know was that a sheriff's deputy was watching the whole thing.
I was shocked. I mean, I was so surprised. I was so shocked that they would do something like this. A lot of people are struggling, and people doing a lot of crazy, insane things, such as this.
This happened yesterday at around 3 o'clock in the morning. Deputies arrested 2 suspects, saying they were either trying to steal the change or take the whole thing to a recycling facility.
A swarm of bees attacked a person today in Desert Hot Springs. That person was hospitalized in serious condition after being repeatedly stung. The bees appear to have had a hive in a wall next to a triplex. Firefighters had to extricate the family of the victim from their unit. Another resident was told to shelter in place. A beekeeper was called in and was able to subdue and remove the swarm.
Time now to head to Jonathan Novak for a check on weather. And Jonathan, you've been warning us about the heat coming up this weekend.
It's going to be rough. Ruta Bay, folks. We're looking at right now our time lapse first. The Angeles National Forest showing the sun is here. It's going to stay for the whole weekend. It's going to look nice, but it is going to be toasty today. Already some 90s. Fullerton topped out at 91, Camarillo 89, mid-80s, San Bernardino. You almost got to 80 at Hermosa Beach and upper 70s in Avalon. It is 81 still in downtown Los Angeles. Right now, it's your current temperature, and the winds are calm. It is nice. It's going to be a nice night, but then the temperatures go up even more tomorrow on top of it because these winds that we're going to be getting to warm us up are Santa Ana winds. They are going to be gusting a little bit. There's a wind advisory for most of Southern California from tonight through Friday afternoon. We could see gusts as high as 45, but the real issue are those temperatures. Records could be broken. I'll tell you about that coming up in that 7th day.
Jonathan, thank you. There may be labor problems with the proposed NFL stadium in Inglewood before construction has even begun. Unions are concerned because developers have not reached agreements assuring labor will be part of the project that will create thousands of jobs. Union leaders want signed, written agreements committing to jobs at the stadium. The developer has not yet responded to the request. Meantime, backers of a proposed NFL stadium in Carson began a petition drive today. They are hoping to expedite the project by getting it on the ballot or getting immediate approval from the city council. The Chargers and Raiders say they are planning to build a stadium in Carson if they are unable to strike deals for new facilities in their own cities. Also today, San Diego Stadium Advisory Group formally announced it's decided to demolish Qualcomm Stadium so a new billion-dollar stadium can be built on the site.
An American who contracted Ebola in Africa is heading back to the U.S. to be treated. How authorities will handle the case.
Plus, 2 U.S. Secret Service agents under investigation after crashing a car into a barrier near the White House.
And the intruder that should have done some research before targeting a wrestling-themed restaurant. The amazing body slam caught on camera.
Kevin Bacon teams up with Eggs. I'm George Pinocchio. His new gig in tonight's Hollywood Wrap. Plus, Emmy's new host. And a big announcement from Kathy Griffin involving her work on Eve Fashion Fleece. That's next.
An American health worker who contracted Ebola while volunteering in Africa will be brought back to the U.S. for treatment. The National Institute of Health says the unidentified patient is expected to arrive in Bethesda, Maryland tomorrow. Meantime, Dr. Nancy Snyderman says she is leaving her job as chief medical editor for NBC News due to the fallout over her failure to observe a quarantine when she returned from covering the Ebola epidemic in Liberia last fall. The World Health Organization says its tally of Ebola deaths has passed the grim milestone of 10,000, mostly in West Africa.
Another embarrassment for the agency assigned to protect the president and the White House. 2 agents are accused of driving drunk on the White House grounds, and one of those allegedly involved is a member of the president's personal security detail. ABC's Susan Solney has more.
Another setback for an agency that was supposed to be shaping up after a series of embarrassing missteps. This time, 2 senior Secret Service agents have been reassigned after allegedly drunk driving a government car last week and hitting a White House security barrel. The agents involved, identified as George Ogilvy and Mark Connolly, had allegedly indulged in a night of drinking at another agent's retirement party. Then they drove through a security tape that had been set up outside the perimeter of the White House before colliding with the barrel.
And they went on to go through what was then a active investigation, crime scene investigation.
Secret Service leadership apparently looked the other way. The 2 agents were not given a field sobriety test on orders from a Secret Service supervisor who instead sent the agents home. This incident follows a series of failures. Last fall, a man with a knife jumped the fence and made it deep into the White House before being apprehended.
I feel disappointed in it. I feel as a citizen and as a taxpayer that, I'm somewhat betrayed by it. The recently appointed Secret Service Director, Joe Clancy, wasn't informed until 5 days after the incident. Clancy has asked the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General to investigate.
I think when you fail, and we have failed, we own it. Now it's up to us to correct it.
President Obama said he is disappointed by the allegations, but still has full confidence in Secret Service Director Joe Clancy. Susan Falney, ABC News, Washington.
Talk about picking the wrong people to mess with. An intruder got a little more than he bargained for when he walked into the kitchen of a Chicago restaurant. When the man became combative and appeared to be reaching for his weapon, he was body slammed by the restaurant's owner. It turns out the venue is a wrestling-themed restaurant owned by former bodybuilder and his wife, a former WWE wrestler. It was all caught on surveillance video.
And the whole time he was, headbutting, screaming, and biting. He said he didn't want to go to prison. He scratched me. So I've got him down, and he's, obviously kicking. He fought the whole time.
The suspect was an 18-year-old who only weighed about 115 pounds. He was charged with possession of a controlled substance, aggravated assault, and unlawful use of a weapon.
Big lesson learned there.
Yeah, that's the wrong restaurant.
Yeah. Let's talk about our weather, because a lot of concern over this weekend coming up, Jonathan.
Yeah, we will have to talk. We can talk a little bit later about some specific safety things, but I mean, it's common sense. You really got to have to pay attention over this weekend, because a lot of people are going to be expecting this heat. 90, 92 degrees, 95 degrees in some inland spots. Water, stay hydrated, stay cool, check in on the elderly, and make sure, when you leave that car, no pets, no kids. Right. Yeah, obvious stuff, but we just, always nice to have a reminder. In the meantime, beautiful looking. The Big Bear time-lapse from earlier. How about that, guys? A few clouds. Now, I can't promise completely sunny skies with the heat this weekend. We'll have just a few high clouds moving in here and there, but otherwise, it will look beautiful outside. It's going to feel extremely hot. 95 is probably the top of the range for the high temperatures I look for this weekend. Big Bear right now is at 48, a little bit of a breeze. You'll have some winds tonight and through tomorrow in the mountains. And check out the high from today in downtown, 86. 86 degrees. That was our high today. Yesterday, big jump, about 10 to 15 degrees difference in a lot of places from yesterday to today. So across the board, in fact, we're still in the 80s in many spots. 82 in Long Beach. We're left with 85 right now in Santa Ana. 85, 81 in Ojai at the moment, 84 in Palm Springs, and 69 in San Clemente, a little bit cooler. Now, this is the map that shows you the change in the temperatures from last night to tonight. So, for instance, we are 13 degrees warmer right now in Van Nuys than we were this time last night, 16 degrees warmer in Fullerton and Santa Ana than we were this time last night. The heat wave has kicked in, and we're going to continue this warm-up as we go into the next couple of days. The satellite imagery shows an area of low pressure in the bottom right of your screen moving away, brings the clouds and the rain away from us, and high pressure building in right over us over the next couple of days. And that wind around high pressure is clockwise, so we see those winds bring us that northeast flow. And that's an offshore flow, and that means those Santa Anas for tonight and tomorrow, about 45 miles an hour. And as the wind heads down the slopes, it compresses, and as that air is compressed, those molecules gets closer and closer, and it speeds up, and you get that heat coming from those Santa Ana winds. So for tonight and tomorrow, we see that high pressure still over us. Saturday and Sunday will be the warmest days of the forecast. The weekend is going to be hot, 90, 95 with that ridge, that arc right here in the atmosphere over the western portion of the country. A toasty forecast through Monday, in fact. We don't cool down until middle of next week. Check out your 7-day for LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. Through Monday, we're in the mid to upper 80s to over 90 in some spots. Tomorrow, we're going to push the record of 89. We're going to get to 88 and breezy as well. Finally, back into the 70s next Wednesday. Valleys, i.e., 3 days in the 90s, and we'll drop you to the upper 80s on Monday. Still very hot. And then for the beach area, in fact, it might cool a little bit on Sunday with a bit of an onshore flow. Otherwise, still in the 80s, very nice and mild for you. Mountains are going to be in the 60s for 4 days here from Saturday through Tuesday. And a quick look at that high desert. Man, 82, 83, 84, 81. That's your Saturday through Tuesday forecast. Hot stuff, guys. We'll try to stay cool as best we can. Back to you.
Okay. Thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah.
In tonight's Hollywood Wrap, Kathy Griffin makes an announcement about her career.
Plus, the new host of the Emmys. But first, Frozen news to warm fans' hearts. And here's George Pinocchio to explain.
How many times has your daughter seen Frozen?
Too many to count.
Well, guess what? There's a sequel coming. It's officially time to let it go again. Disney announced today Frozen 2 is now in development. The first one was a worldwide phenomenon, globally making $1.3 billion at the box office. The Oscar-winning team behind Frozen is returning for the sequel. There's no release date set yet, but we do know Olaf will be back because actor Josh Gad, who voices the animated snowman, was on hand for today's announcement at Disney's annual shareholders meeting. No other returning characters were announced, but Kristen Bell, the voice of Anna, tweeted today, "Dreams really do come true. Frozen 2, it's official." Well, this may be a dream come true for comedian Andy Samberg. He's going to host the Emmy Awards. The show will be here in L.A. at the Nokia Theater on September 20th. Samberg, an Emmy winner himself and the star of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, says it's going to be a wild ride. This one comes as a bit of a surprise. After only 7 episodes, Kathy Griffin says she's done with Eve's Fashion Police. Via Twitter today, she announced she's leaving the show, saying, "I discovered that my style does not fit with the creative direction of the show, and now it's time to move on." Finally, bacon and eggs. The egg industry is launching a new ad campaign featuring actor Kevin Bacon.
You know, I love the smell of eggs in the morning.
And I love the smell of bacon.
Honey, what time's therapy tonight?
Oh.
Why is Kevin Bacon lying on our kitchen counter?
He's an expert on eggs.
And why are you sniffing him?
But shouldn't you be at work, sweetie?
Oh, I get it. So I can bring home that bacon. Stop.
Campaign is called Wake Up to Eggs with Bacon. That's tonight's Hollywood Wrap. Rita Bay, David.
That should be
Thank
fun.
you. That's a good one.
Yeah, thanks, George. Still ahead, a carjacking victim describes his horrifying ride at gunpoint with the Boston Marathon bombers. What he's saying about the moment he made the terrifying decision to bolt from the car.
And be careful what you post on social media. Police are cracking down on threats.
Dramatic new images shown in court today during the Boston bombing trial.
Jurors heard emotional testimony from the man allegedly carjacked by the Tsarnaev brothers. ABC's Tom Yamas has the latest from Boston.
This new surveillance video shows the beginning of the end for the Tsarnaev brothers. Prosecutors say that's Johar Tsarnaev exiting a Mercedes SUV they had just carjacked. He enters a convenience store, cruising the aisles. But as he stocks up on junk food, outside, a figure sprints from the Mercedes. It's Dun Meng, the car's owner, running for his life. Then, Tamerlan Tsarnaev jumps from the car, racing to alert his brother. Meng, terrified, runs into a gas station. In a panic, looking to see if he's being followed, he frantically gestures out the window, then drops to his knees, clasping his hands, begging the clerk to call 911, and then he hides. When the clerk hands him the phone, Meng tells 911 the marathon bombers just carjacked him. Today in court, Meng described how he was carjacked at gunpoint, how Johar Tsarnaev used his ATM card to take out cash, and how his decision to escape was the toughest decision of his life. Meng testified that as they were driving, Tamerlan Tsarnaev told him, "Do you know the Boston Marathon explosion? Do you know who did it? I did it, and I just killed a policeman in Cambridge." When the Tsarnaev brothers realized that Meng had escaped, they fled in his car. But what they didn't know, that car was equipped with a tracking system, and soon police would be hot on their trail. Tom Llamas, ABC News, Boston.
We're updating the evening's top stories next at 7:30.
This facility has been in Vernon for nearly 90 years. Officials say in that time it's been polluting the environment with lead. As of today, it is permanently closed. I'm Carlos Granda in Vernon, and I'll have that story coming up.
Plus, what authorities are doing to crack down on threats being made at local high schools.
Live from ABC 7,
This is Eyewitness News at 7:30 p.m. on LA 56.
Top story 7:30. A brush fire continues to burn outside tonight behind the Brooks Institute campus in Ventura. I'm David Ono.
I'm Rudabeh Shabazi. This is Eyewitness News on LA 56. Ventura Avenue remains closed between Cañada Larga and Crooked Palm Road. 15 acres have burned so far. 120 firefighters are on the scene. Officials have evacuated 150 people from the Brooks Institute. Authorities are investigating the fire as arson and are interviewing witnesses. Thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News. Eyewitness viewer Patrick Duffy sent us this photo, so thank you to Patrick for that.
President Obama is in town with stops in Hollywood, Santa Monica, and Beverly Hills tonight, so watch for traffic tie-ups. He's already taped a segment on ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live, appearing on the show for the first time as Commander-in-Chief. The rest of the night, he's raising money for the Democratic National Committee at a private fundraiser in Santa Monica, where tickets are more than $30,000 a couple.
A battery recycling plant with a history of hazardous waste violations is being closed in order to pay millions in cleanup costs. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda talked to people happy to see it go.
So you're glad they're closing the plant?
Well, for our health and our life, yeah.
Cindy Smith lives in the neighborhood near the Exide facility and never thought the plant would close. Federal prosecutors say it's the first step to clean up the area.
There will be less lead, less arsenic, and less cancer-causing compounds like benzene in the air and water.
Officials say the facility illegally stored, dumped, and transported hazardous waste. The company will pay $100 million for cleanup and testing. Exide is in bankruptcy, but officials say with this agreement, the company will be able to survive and pay the bill.
Should the taxpayers of California, should the taxpayers of this country pay to clean up a Superfund site that was created by this company? Absolutely not. And this agreement keeps that company alive and on the hook for the foreseeable future.
We no longer have to be worrying about additional contamination falling into our grass and our lawns, that we no longer have to get messages that children shouldn't play outside in their own backyard.
The company issued a statement. We recognize the impacts that closing the Vernon facility will have on our approximately 130 employees and their families. By obtaining plan confirmation and emerging from Chapter 11, Exide expects to be able to meet its closure and cleanup obligations under these agreements. Today there is ongoing work as crews remove soil from the ground around some of these homes. Cindy Smith worries about the long-term effects.
What about our grandchildren that did stay here the last 5 years?
And if the company does not live up to its agreement, the U.S. Attorney says they will go after it again. Reporting from Boyle Heights, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
In a very rare decision, an Orange County judge removed the district attorney's office from the penalty phase of the trial for convicted mass killer Scott DeCry. The judge says DeCry's rights were violated by the use of jailhouse informants. He says DeCry cannot get a fair penalty phase as a result, and under the ruling, the state attorney general's office would take over. Families of the 8 victims killed in the 2011 Seal Beach Salon massacre are outraged.
The worst possible thing he could have done to the families was to extend this for another year before we even get to trial.
We respectfully disagree with the ruling. We are exploring appellate options.
The district attorney has until March 20th to file for an appeal. DeCry could receive the death penalty.
A growing and disturbing new trend, students posting violent threats against schools on social media. Today, 2 students are under arrest in 2 separate cases. Extra security was present at Lawndale High. Sheriff's investigators say a 16-year-old from neighboring Lusinger High was behind the threat on Burnbook. They even seized his computer to see whether he had a plan to carry out an attack. At about the same time, Downing police arrested a 9th grader from Warren High, accused of saying there was going to be a shooting there.
It makes you feel like a little nervous about taking your siblings to school.
Our goal is to create positive learning environments where fear has no place.
Investigators say both students claimed the posts were a joke. They remind students that anyone posting criminal threats can be traced. The LA City Attorney's Office is filing charges against a gun owner after a 9-year-old boy brought a loaded handgun to school. Earlier this month, a janitor discovered a pistol tucked into a wall near a restroom at Nessel Avenue Elementary in Tarzana. 41-year-old Aaron Martin now faces 4 criminal counts, including keeping a loaded firearm where a child is likely to gain access. If convicted, he could face a year in jail and $5,000 in fines. The boy's mother is also charged with felony child endangerment. The child has been expelled.
The Huntington Beach Police Department is asking the public's help, that is, to identify a man wanted for assault. Surveillance video shows the suspect on the far right in a gray hooded sweatshirt and blue jeans leaving Hurricanes Bar with 2 other men. Authorities say last January 18th, a fight between 2 men broke out inside the bar on Main Street. Officials say the victim tried to intervene and was hit by the suspect, suffering major head and face trauma.
A night at Joe's Crab Shack in Newport Beach ended with a terrible discovery at the valet kiosk. A couple's car had been given away to someone else. Orange County Bureau Chief Eileen Frere spoke with the car's owner, who says it's still missing.
Josh Gelly and his girlfriend Jody Abity watched video shot on her cell phone Saturday night as she grilled valet workers with Laz Parking after leaving Joe's Crab Shack in Newport Beach, only to find their car missing.
Wow.
We're doing everything we can. I'm so sorry about this.
I'm freaked out about it. Like, this is unheard of. Like, really. Have y'all ever given cars away without tickets before?
I thought it was a joke. I honestly thought it was a joke, and I was laughing at first. I thought they were just playing around with us. I didn't think they were for real. I thought they were joking with us.
And when you realized your car really wasn't there?
I got super upset.
The attendants tell Abity differing accounts of who left in their 2014 Mazda CX-9.
I thought you said he had a red shirt.
There was 2 of them.
2 guys?
Yeah, so one of them was a large man. He had like Ohio State tattoo right here.
Yeah.
And the other one was in a shorter red shirt.
I'm still in disbelief. I mean, it's almost been a week now, and I'm still in disbelief that someone could just give away a car without verifying that that person is the owner.
And y'all just gave it to him?
I didn't give it to him.
Who gave it to him?
The other guy that's not here anymore.
In a statement, Laz Parking says safety, security, and guest service is our utmost priority. Regrettably, it appears our company policies and procedures were not properly followed, and we have apologized and are actively supporting the customer whose vehicle was affected. We take this incident very seriously, and once we have completed our review of the incident, we'll act accordingly. For the couple, it's not just the car, but its contents. Inside, Abity's 16-year-old son's hat, given to him by his father, who passed away a year and a half ago from cancer.
Now, Joe's Crab Shack had no comment. As for the couple, they say they have no plans on ever using valet anywhere ever again. In Newport Beach, Eileen Frere, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
LA County Metro has a new chief executive. He is Philip Washington, a 16-year veteran of Denver's transit agency, including 6 years as general manager. At today's announcement, Washington said he intends to provide a clean, reliable, and cost-effective service. Among his many challenges, he'll be tasked with overseeing 5 current rail construction projects.
On the surface, the Hyperloop seems like a fantasy. Its designer is claiming it could take you from LA to San Francisco in half an hour, but that fantasy is slowly starting to become a reality. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Hayes spoke with the design team, who says they're working to build a prototype in the Central Valley.
High-speed rail, that controversial plan to link L.A. to San Francisco with a 200-mile-per-hour train. Price tag $68 billion.
Our estimated cost from L.A. to San Francisco is around $16 billion.
Dirk Alborn is referring to this, his company's high-speed tube system that he says isn't just cheaper than the high-speed rail, but also more eco-friendly.
We are completely solar-powered.
And way faster.
760 miles per hour.
That's L.A. to San Francisco in half an hour.
That's very fast.
Hyperloop Transportation Technologies is a company created by Tesla and SpaceX founder Elon Musk. It just recently announced plans to build a 5-mile-long Hyperloop in Quay Valley, California, starting next year.
It will be basically the local transit system for Quay Valley.
A 5-mile-long operational Hyperloop system in an urban setting? That sure sounds pretty impressive, but odds are you've never visited Quay Valley or even heard of it. That's because this is Quay Valley. It's a whole lot of dirt and scrub along the 5 freeway between Bakersfield and Fresno. But developer Quay Hayes says it's soon to be a big deal.
We have 7,500 acres, and we're planning for 25,000 residences and about 20 million square feet of commercial.
Hayes says building the $100 million Hyperloop route here gives his eco-center development instant credibility. and Hyperloop gets a test track.
It will be a lot easier to do it and integrate it into the DNA of this project as opposed to trying to go into a populated area.
Hyperloop is already working with other cities, but with the LA to San Francisco route already in the works, it's hoping California will switch tracks and go tubular. In Brentwood, Rob Hayes, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Hundreds were killed when the St. Francis Dam broke on this date back in 1928.
Still ahead, we look back at what went wrong and we tell you about new plans for the site of the dam today.
Plus one team's mission to make sure every girl gets the prom night that they deserve.
Jonathan Novak here. Hey, it was hot today. It is going to be even hotter tomorrow. Details on record-breaking temperatures coming up in that 7 forecast.
The Dalai Lama will be coming to Orange County this summer to celebrate his 80th birthday. The three-day visit will include a series of events open to the public. The highlight will be what they call the Global Compassion Summit. The summit will include Nobel laureates, celebrities, speakers, and performers. The visit will be July 5th through the 7th, and it will be the first visit for the Dalai Lama to Anaheim and the third visit to Irvine.
It was on this date 87 years ago that a wall of water swept from the Santa Clarita Valley to the sea, killing hundreds.
Eyewitness News reporter Leo Stallworth looked back at the St. Francis Dam failure, still the deadliest disaster in Southern California history.
There's barely any evidence of the St. Francis Dam here or the tragedy left in its wake nearly 90 years ago. The dam was located 10 miles north of Santa Clarita in San Francisco Canyon. On this day in 1928, the dam crumbled, sending a 180-foot wall of water gushing down the canyon, killing more than 400 people and leaving well over 100 unaccounted for.
And whole houses in Santa Paula were picked up and deposited maybe a mile away, in some cases, into open orchards.
It was the second worst tragedy in California history behind the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. It effectively ended the career of Chief Engineer William Mulholland. Dam expert Frank Rock was born on this day more than 20 years after the disaster.
March 12th. Whoa. 22 years after I was born.
Rock says the dam failed in part because it was not built structurally sound.
After the dam failed and Mulholland was disgraced, they came upon the decision that no dam could ever, federally funded dam or municipal dam could ever be built without the say-so independent study.
The disaster forever left its mark on dam safety in the United States and worldwide. This weekend, Rock and his wife Carol will be taking busloads of people for tours of what is left of the dam.
Now it's just rock and dirt.
Mother Nature's taking it back, as absorbing all the disaster artifacts. But that's okay. That's a natural process. But it's something that we need to acknowledge. But we need to keep telling those stories so that our kids don't forget.
Leo Stallworth, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Major warm-up on the way, and we'll check in with Jonathan Novak for a complete look at the forecast.
And we'll show you if Pharrell was up to the challenge of making history. Could he play 10 different positions for 10 different teams all in the same day?
A lot of high school kids who might not have been able to go to the prom this year will be able to after all, thanks to help from a fellow student. I'm Robert Millen in Riverside. We'll tell you what she's doing to help coming up.
A big day for NASA. Its largest and most powerful rocket booster passed its first test today. The 177-foot-long solid rocket booster ignited with 2 minutes, or for 2 minutes in Utah. That's considered a milestone for NASA. Another test is planned, and if it is successful, the booster will be used in its first flight at the Kennedy Space Center. NASA hopes the boosters could one day propel spacecrafts to destinations in deep space, including Mars.
An astronaut and 2 cosmonauts are back on Earth after spending nearly 6 months aboard the International Space Station. They landed in a Soyuz capsule in Kazakhstan today. Despite heavy fog, recovery workers arrived within minutes, and all 3 were free within half an hour. They all appeared to be in good condition. 3 other crew members remain aboard the space station. They'll be joined by 3 others later this month, including 2 who plan to spend a full year in space.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine a full year?
Can't imagine.
Welcome home to everybody. If they're coming to Southern California, we'll welcome them with heat.
I
Yeah.
was going to say, you know what it is in space?
What?
Cold.
Yeah.
You know what it's going to be here?
Hot.
Not cold. Very, very hot. Yeah, we have temperatures probably going to break some records starting tomorrow. All right, the record in LA is 89. I think we're going to get right there close, give or take a degree, so it'll be interesting tomorrow to see how that plays out. But Saturday's probably going to be the hottest day, in fact. So, yeah, start getting ready to deal with some heat, folks, as we got a stretch of it. Downtown L.A., well, we hit 86 in downtown, 86 today. Yesterday was in the lower 70s. And other places around Southern California, Fullerton hit 91. 89 in Camarillo, and Avalon hit 77. Right now we are at 83 in Burbank. Check out the camera shaking here a little bit, our live camera. That's a 14-mile-an-hour wind. So with the heat, we've got these Santa Anas. It's actually helping to bring the heat. And they're gusting for the next 24, 36 hours. As a result, a wind advisory has been issued for most of the area except for on the coast for winds up to about 45, 50 miles an hour for the gusts. Sustained winds probably about 20 to 30 or so. And this goes through from tonight through Friday at in the afternoon, depending on where you are, about 5 p.m. or so. The temperatures at the moment are generally in the 80s. This red area here indicating very warm weather. So we've already started this warm up. Today and tomorrow, these numbers will be even higher at this time of night because those highs are going to be even higher as high pressure bears down over us. We got that wind around high pressure that goes clockwise, and that's where we get that Santa Ana wind from. Down the mountain slopes it goes, and it compresses, and that air heats up. So for the next couple of days, I'd say for tomorrow at least, it's going to be breezy and hot. And then for the weekend, extremely hot. The hottest days are going to be Saturday, probably Sunday as well. And we'll keep the heat lingering on into Monday. Now, a lot of this advice, you know, this is just common sense stuff. But just as a reminder, stay cool. If you have anything to do during the day, try to do it during the cooler parts of the day. Avoid the late morning and the early afternoon time in extreme heat. Dress light, eat light as well. Sometimes we forget that, and that keeps the metabolism a little bit slower if you eat light, so you're going to have to worry about that internal heat going on. And then water, obviously the most important thing, folks. And check up on the elderly, and watch out for those kids and pets, too. 88 tomorrow for a high temperature is just absurdly warm for winter. 90 in Northridge. Look for 89 in Riverside, 90 Irvine, and 90 in Pasadena for a high temperature. 70 forecast for LA Metro and Orange County, powered up by AccuWeather. A little bit of a breeze tomorrow through the canyons, 35 miles an hour. It's the best I can give you for a cool down because we have temps 88 to 91 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we'll drop down to 86 on Monday. Hot stuff throughout, folks. No rain at this point for the next 7 days. Valleys, i.e., 90, maybe even 92, 93 tomorrow, 92 to 94 on Saturday. Hot on Sunday again, and even on Monday. Beach looks nice and warm. It's beach weather, but, you know, it's beginning of March, so we shouldn't have temperatures in the 80s, but you do Friday through Monday. The mountains are going to be in the 60s for most of your forecast. Watch out for some windy conditions tomorrow in the high desert. Saturday through Tuesday, you're in the lower to mid-80s. Stay cool as best you can, guys. Back to you.
All right, Jonathan, thank you.
Welcome.
Billy Crystal, Kevin Costner, Tom Selleck, and Garth Brooks are just some of the celebrities who have played in spring training baseball games. And today, Will Ferrell was attempting to do what no one had ever done before, play in 5 games for 10 different teams and 10 different positions in the same day. His first stop was a game between the A's and the Mariners. Then he flew by chopper to Tempe, where the Angels put him to center field. Take a look.
Here's the 2-2. Shot into center field. It's going to drop in, so Will Ferrell's going to have to field one out there. Does a good job. Fires the ball towards second and holds Castillo to a single. And he's getting a standing ovation here for making a play out there.
That wasn't bad. After his stint with the Angels, the Cubs let Ferrell play first base, and they also gave him a chance to swing the bat. Unfortunately, he struck out in all 3 straight pitches. He had his most success during the game as a third base coach, where he boldly and effectively communicated signals to the hitters. And the Cubs responded by scoring 4 runs in the inning, although the Angels won this game 10-9. Will's 10-team 5-game tour ends tonight when the Dodgers face the Stay Classy San Diego Padres. On to college basketball now, where UCLA and USC squared off this afternoon in the second round of the Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas. The Trojans and Bruins, here they go. UCLA, they took control of this game early on thanks to a 14-0 run. They made 4 3-pointers in that stretch to take an 11-point lead. But not all was good for the kids from Westwood. Kevon Looney takes an elbow to his face. He left the game and taken to the hospital, where he underwent a CT scan. His status is unknown. The Bruins, led by 18, never looked back. Isaac Hamilton with a monster game. He led the Bruins with a career-high 36 points. UCLA advances and faces top seed Arizona tomorrow.
Will Ferrell had a pretty good play. That initial one, not
his
bad.
form was great.
Exactly. More news straight ahead here at 7:30, and ahead tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC 7. A new weapon in the battle against Alzheimer's disease, but it's not a drug. New details at 11. Plus, the actor who plays Iron Man summons his superhero strength to help out a child in need. The touching story. These stories and all the late-breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC 7. Tying the knot these days can unravel your bank account. According to the website The Knot, the average couple spends more than $30,000 on their wedding. The largest chunk goes to pay for the wedding venue. The next most expensive item is the engagement ring and then the band. The cost of wedding invitations has actually decreased, possibly due to electronic save-the-date applications and wedding websites.
Just elope. Save the money.
Or avoid it altogether, maybe.
Yeah. Or don't get married.
Yeah.
A Riverside teenager is taking steps to help make sure other teenage girls have the chance to attend their prom.
Yeah, she's collecting prom dresses. Eyewitness News Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan has the details of how the program came about.
I just want to be able to give everyone a chance to go.
As Caitlin Kent sorts through all these dresses,
A lot of them actually still have the tags on them, which is great.
She does so knowing that each and every one of them means someone will be able to go to the prom this year after all.
I brought them in yesterday actually, and I was running to class because I was late.
You see, every dress has been donated. The project started when Kent heard that some people might not be able to go to prom because they couldn't afford a dress.
I just think it's sad, if you want to, but you can't. You don't have the opportunity.
So she thought, why not ask the community for help?
I made a couple flyers and I put them up around the local businesses.
She did all the work. She did the groundwork. She laid the plan.
The activities director at King High School, Tammy Kruger, thinks it's a great idea.
It's amazing to me because it motivated me to go clean up my girls' dresses.
So far, Kent has collected about 20 dresses. She's hoping for close to 3 times that, and people have until the end of the month to donate.
It allows kids to give back to their school and their community. It allows girls that maybe can't afford it the ability to have a night out.
It means a lot to girls to get asked to, go through the whole process. And considering it only happens once in your high school is pretty unique, and I think it's something that people remember for the rest of their lives.
In Riverside, Rob McMillan, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Thanks for joining us for Eyewitness News at 7:30 on LA 56. Law and Order SVU is next here on LA 56.
The Eyewitness News continues at 11 p.m. on ABC 7. Good night.